Oh, hey, we're live. Hey,
Oh, yeah.
welcome
Hey.
to the Max Effort Kitchen. How's everybody doing? That popped in on me pretty quick. I guess I wasn't paying attention to the numbers. I am Matt. This is Cornell. We are here for another Sunday of some great talk about food and weightlifting. How you doing, Cornell?
I am doing quite well.
Excellent.
So rested up. My back is feeling much better. I had that kind of the muscles that didn't want to let go for like a week, maybe
Yeah.
a week and a half. Didn't
Yep.
help competing last weekend. Also didn't help with I'm doing that power project competition, and it was a 1 rep front squat with a 5-second pause. So that never helps with upper middle back.
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't. That was a pretty intense one. And you said you went up to what, 180, 185?
185, took a crack at 190, but it was like there was just no. On my way down on the descent, I felt my knee pop, and so I just shifted to the other leg, and it was like, there's no way it's happening.
Right. I mean, it's funny because I catch myself doing this, I don't know, roughly once or twice a month, where I will feel something pop, or I'll feel a twinge in the middle of a session. I'm like, you know what? Just back off. Just back off. And that's okay. And it works. But it's just being smart, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that's the good part about being a grown up and being a master, and not just being like, tomorrow doesn't matter. It's all about today. It's like tomorrow does matter because tomorrow means I can do this again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's the whole point. Man, okay. I'm going to brag a little bit because I made dinner tonight, and it was something a little bit outside of our box, or something I haven't done in a really long time. And I figure, why not talk about it on the podcast? Because it is, we do talk about food. So what's your take on whitefish? Do you like whitefish?
Is that a specific fish, or is that just like?
No, I'm saying versus like salmon. We got cod. Yeah. So for instance, I got cod.
Okay.
And I've always had quite the dilemma towards cod, halibut, all that stuff.
Yep.
And the reason why is because you can make it look like the most beautiful plate, on the table. And you can crust it, you can bread it, you can sear it up really nice, and it looks beautiful. The problem is it just doesn't taste like anything. It never tastes like anything. So
very, very bland.
Yeah, very bland. And you're just like, what is this weird texture in my mouth that doesn't have any flavor? And so that's what she said. And then
I was like, I'm not going to say it.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to say it. No, but so what I did was I did some just basic garlic mashed potatoes. I cut the cod into probably 6-ounce little portion steaks. And I threw it in a flour blend with smoked paprika, oregano, thyme, what else? Garlic salt, a little bit of flour, and then a little bit of cornstarch. Just kind of rolled it in that cast iron pan, mixture of butter and oil, got a nice sear on it, took it out of the pan, let it rest. And then I made are you familiar? And it's a French sauce. It's called a beurre blanc.
Nope.
Okay, so what it is, a beurre blanc sauce is 3 primary things: lemon juice, butter, and wine. And it's so I took all the drippings in the pan, added my lemon juice, added a whole bunch of wine. And I always like to do a pan sauce with a little chicken stock. It makes it thicker. So I threw some chicken stock in there, let it cook down, threw the butter in there. And holy crap, dude. It was the most flavorful fish I've ever had. And so I'm like, I look at Alana and I'm like, man, this is good. And she goes, yeah, you should take up cooking for a living. This is pretty good. And I'm like, yeah, thanks. But I really, so I guess the whole point of me telling you this is if anybody out there, has the struggle with the whitefish, the cod, the halibut, the fish that is harder to flavor, use a pan sauce, because it will turn out your dish and it'll impress anybody out there. That's kind of my tip of the day.
Cool.
Yeah.
So the last time I went, I think we talked about this a little while ago. I don't go fishing often, just whenever work pays for it.
Right, right.
There's a fish that we catch very commonly around here called sheep's head.
Yeah.
And we made some really good fish tacos. Kind of the same idea where it's never really tasted that good.
Mm-hmm.
Then this time I didn't bread it, but I floured the whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I created like a crust over it, and then we deep fried it. But instead of just using flour, I used flour and garlic salt.
Nice.
And it was just like it flavored it. I mean, it didn't flavor the fish; it just gave it a garlic flavor,
Right.
flavor.
Yeah.
And then did the typical like white sauce that you have on fish tacos with the cabbage and everything. And it was the first time where my whole family was like, "This is really good. Why haven't we done this before?" And I'm like, "Because I didn't think to put the fish in flour first."
Yeah, no, we had the same moment tonight. It was like, why aren't we doing this more often? Now, cod is, I'm not sure how expensive the fish you were talking about is, but like cod it was like $15 a pound, and so
I just recently, this is the first time I've seen this for sale around here, because when we were fishing, they said that all the fish on the Pacific get sent to Japan.
Interesting.
And it's very rare because we're like, we never see this on menus here. Like, yeah, no fish that you buy at a restaurant here is from here. That's all literally gets shipped out to Japan. I just recently saw sheep's head at my local grocery store, and it was only like $7.99 a pound. Nice. And it's not big. Like the fillet is smaller than like a chicken breast, or like a chicken thigh, but it's only about a half-inch thick. So you could probably get like 6 or 7 fillets in a pound.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
I'm going to look for that. I've never had that before. Is it like a flaky type fish? I mean, does it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah. It's just a real flaky, white, thin. Yeah. I mean, you see it and then you kind of wonder when you go to Costco or something and you get a salmon and you're like, okay, this fish was like 18 inches long and I got like a taco out of it. How big are these actual salmons?
Right. Well, generally when I am cooking with whitefish, I generally, all I've ever done is fish tacos because it's the best way to do it in my opinion. But I think what I did was I kind of layered it. I went sauce on the plate. I did mashed potatoes and then I did the fish and sauce on top of that and let it drain over. Nice. And it was like the perfect bite. You cut down, you get sauce on both sides, mashed potatoes and the fish. It was great. It was interesting. I mean, I don't know, get out there, play with some food. It wasn't like a calorie dense meal. That is one thing it was not, but I didn't lift today and I'm okay with that. On the days I don't lift, I don't know about you, but on the days I don't lift, I just don't have the appetite and I still eat. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. Now I don't eat in comparison to some of our friends. We have one friend, Damon, in particular. That guy, I swear, both of his legs are hollow. I've never seen anybody eat the way he eats, but more power to him, and I love it.
Yeah.
But on my off days, I tend to go towards the things that I don't need to be calorie dense on.
My off days, I'll generally eat more desserts.
I like that.
I'm like, I don't necessarily need all the protein. I don't need all this. I don't need all that. But I'm like, but I don't mind having an ice cream sandwich during the day and then having a bowl of ice cream we had my niece's birthday was yesterday and they made a Texas sheet cake. So we brought some of that home. So had a nice 6-inch by 6-inch square of that with probably a cup and a half of ice cream on top. About 15 minutes ago, so I'm still feeling it.
You kind of made me want that right now. Texas sheet cake. Talk to me about that. Like, what is that? Just like a basic yellow cake, thinner, a little bit thinner than normal.
So, Is it not like a thing that people don't know about?
I've never heard the term Texas sheet cake.
Okay, so one of the nice parts is it's a really thin cake. It's about an inch thick. I don't know how they make it, but it's just a very simple chocolate cake. Okay. But then you mix up the frosting because we've made it once, but my mother-in-law makes it all the time for birthday parties. Not like all the time. So, but you pour the frosting over it right when it comes out, and then it melts into the cake, and then the frosting on top, it almost turns like a glass, like not perfectly smooth, but like it melts over the top and it looks almost like a glazed frosting.
Okay.
And then it kind of soaks into the cake as well.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I get the sheet cake probably refers to they're making it in a sheet pan, so that's why it's thin like that.
Yeah.
But I really like that. So that reminds me of something that, like, when I grew up, my mom used to make like the 11 by 8, normal kind of like basic cake pan, and she would get a box mix, and this was some real down home like Idaho shit. So yellow cake. She would bake the cake, and then when she pulled the cake out, she hit it with a bunch of like toothpick. Hit it with toothpick, made a bunch of holes in it, and then poured the hot Jello over it. So the Jello soaked into the cake. Put it in the fridge. Pulled it out about an hour later. Threw a whole layer of whipped cream on it and ate it like that.
Nice.
And like, I mean, it's not like technical, it's not super crazy, but it's like, whoa. I could eat half that dang thing, like easy in one sitting, easy. But
I looked it up. It says it's made in a jelly roll pan. Does that make sense to you?
Yep, that does make sense.
But it's like it's a big pan. It's not
Yeah.
it's like a 24 by 24
bigger guy.
It's a big cake. Yeah. And then when it's done, I mean, no one can really see this here, but it kind of looks like a brownie.
Oh,
Except for it's almost like the top layer is it's like sugar crispy.
Yeah.
But not crispy. But like you can see it crackle when you cut it.
I'm gonna take note of this because I think I have a little homework to do. I want to try this. It sounds great.
It's something super easy. It's also cool because you can give your kids like a real big piece, and really it's not that big because it's like at most.
Exactly. Sweet, dude. Like, my week of lifting was a little bombarded by I don't know, mild cold. And so I took the opportunity to keep the percentages lower. Okay. And, I got all 5 days in and it was good. I think by the end of the week I had kicked it. I had a really good Friday, went a little bit, I hit the percentages and pushed a little bit more, nothing crazy. I don't think anything over 5 kilos more than the percentage. And it was a productive day. And then I did some fun stuff with Damon with block snatches yesterday, and that was fun too. And lifting's really coming along right now, and I'm about 7 weeks out, and I'm feeling the movement is happening really well. I'm getting, it's like when you do something a lot, right? The repetition, the constant. It's like walking up to the bar, not thinking about, make sure your weight's in the right part of the foot. Make sure your butt's not coming up too fast. Like that part is starting to dissipate. And I appreciate that. But one thing I wanted to throw out there is like the idea that, man, I lost my train of thought. I just had something so like I was going to blow everybody's mind, but I lost it.
We're all going to get PRs after that.
Yeah. Everybody's going to get PRs after this major thing I was going to say. No, I did lose it. But the one thing that did pop up in my head last week was the idea of taking a small, not break, but like back off a little bit in the middle of a meet prep to let your body, to remind you, to give you that confidence again, to say, hey, you're still on track. Because I think during like the meet prep, especially when you're leading up to a meet, your body is getting beat the F down and you forget. And I think this last week was really healthy for my mental state. Nice. and taught me something. So that was cool.
That's great. No, I think it's always good to remember that getting ready for a competition, it's like that's the only thing that you're really thinking about.
Yeah.
And sometimes we focus so much on it, we're just thinking about compete, get all the sessions in. I want to be my best. But we forget that our body's getting more and more beat up.
Yeah.
So every once in a while, if it's you get a cold, if it's work gets busy, if it could be whatever it is. If there's a week that you can't get it all in, like just embrace it and use that for recovery, for like use it to make you better.
Yep.
So
yeah, I think it's a good point. And I think it's good for especially the older you get and the more of a master's lifter is understanding, you know, how your body works and all that. I think the young, and I do this a lot in this podcast where I separate the two because I think there is a good separation. You know, our bodies are different. Our bodies are working different. We can thrash on our bodies in our 20s a lot more. We talk about this a lot, but, you know, one thing that, I was listening to, what podcast, one of the platform.
mm-hmm.
And I really enjoyed, listening to Will Fleming, right? Like
I haven't listened to it yet because it just came out and I was trying to listen to it at the gym today, but it didn't want to download for some reason.
It was a good podcast and I really enjoyed listening to him. I even reshared it and all that, but like, his demeanor, the way he talks about weightlifting, I mean, his resume speaks for itself, right? He's taken,
mm-hmm.
you know, he's taken people to the Olympics, which in my opinion is like, wow, I don't even know what you do as a coach after that. Right.
Yeah.
But, you know, just his whole demeanor. And one thing they talked about is like, and this is something I rarely think about, but like the approach to the bar in a competition. And I kind of wanted to get your take on this. Because when I heard it, I was like, oh, I want to ask Cornell this on the podcast. Like, you know, when you approach the bar, you know, I know that we've talked about where our mindset is and all that, but like when you walk up to that bar on a competition platform, you know, and something doesn't go to the routine, assuming you have a routine,
mm-hmm.
how do you get yourself back out of that? Like how do you reset so you can still walk up to that bar and lift? And I'm talking in a matter of 3 seconds, right? You know, you can still grab that bar and lift it and you know, make the lift. Like, is there something, do you have a trick? Does this ever happen to you?
I don't think it's happened, but I think that for me, the way that my brain works is I try to think of all of the possibilities and all the scenarios that could happen and work through them before they actually happen.
Yeah.
One of the things that I used to do a lot is I didn't want to initiate my lift till I heard the 30-second buzzer.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to be right about to pull and then there's like this beep you're not expecting.
Yep.
So I used to just kind of like, I'd walk around a little bit, chalk up, take my time, go grab the bar, 35 to 38 seconds and going down, and then wait for that buzzer. Yeah. And then once that happened, it was like, okay, now I can go. Yeah. I'm not going to get distracted anymore.
So, I like that. That. As I was listening to the conversation, I thought about, let's ask Cornell if he does this. I have this happen to me more in training than it ever has in a meet. I've never had it happen to me in a meet where I've walked up to a bar thinking I wasn't going to hit it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I have a specific routine. You know, I walk up, I put one hand on the bar, I touch one hand with the other, move it into the spot. I like to feel the bar as I'm walking or as I'm getting ready, you know, count 1, 2, 3, look up, go. And like, there's nothing super complicated about that. I wonder if there's something out there that is like what he was talking about was stepping back, maybe readjusting a belt, taking a deep breath, then restarting your whole thing. And I'm thinking to myself, like, wow, I couldn't imagine like doing that in a competition. Now he's, you know, this dude, he's internationally competition, you know, national competitions, local. He's been around for a while. So I definitely trust what he's saying. It was just an interesting topic because I find myself that happening to me in training where I'm walking up to a lift and I'm like, I don't know if I have it in me today. And I miss it, you know?
Sure. So I have a bunch of things I'm thinking of right now.
Okay.
But one of the things I'm thinking of is I haven't listened to the show yet. So
okay.
I'm just going to lay it out there, but I have listened to multiple shows with him on it. he is a very well known, he's proven himself as a great coach. It's not something that he did one time a long time ago. He wasn't necessarily this like standout athlete. He has proven himself as a coach much more than as an athlete.
Correct.
He's having to deal with these people, and I'm not saying anything about any of his lifters,
Right.
but he's having to deal with these lifters who they're good lifters. It doesn't mean they're in a good headspace. It doesn't mean they could coach. It doesn't mean they're rational people. He needs to learn how to get those people on track. So that's why I think that there's a lot of stuff where it's like, yeah, you might have walked up and you stepped on the platform and you hit a soft spot and the bar started rolling and you're like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? He needs to figure out how to get those people's mind zoned in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that that's something that a really good coach has to deal with. If you have just a really good athlete who it doesn't take too much for them to perform well, they're generally not necessarily good in a lot of other areas. They're just good at what they're doing.
Right.
So
I like that. That's a really good point. And right when you said like, this is a tough one, and we've talked about this a lot, but like being a coach that has a team, for him, I mean, he has a team, but he's only coaching one person in the Olympic run right now in the quads. And so like that, I would imagine that it's easier. Like they know each other really well. He knows the nuances of her, she knows the nuances of him, and they probably bounce off back and forth. But we've talked about this a ton where like, I always want more, and especially being a remote athlete, I want like the coach to really know me. And I know that it's not realistic, and I know it's not logical necessarily because of my position in the sport, older, remote athlete, being somebody who doesn't, I'm not quitting my job. I'm not working a part-time job and being a full-time athlete, right?
Yeah.
It's still a hobby, but I love that coach connection. I think that it's something that like I strive for, is that coach connection and really building it. And I think I sometimes strive for it too hard. And it's interesting. And I don't know why, it's just one of those things that, in this journey of weightlifting, I have always like been like, I think if there's one thing that I could change, it would be, I would be closer to my coach. But I mean, in the big scheme of things, like, yeah, whatever, like I'm an adult. I have a family. I have things to deal with. I shouldn't be worrying about the coach. Just thoughts.
Yeah, no, it is nice to be close to the coach, but at the same time, it's like you're not necessarily going to do necessarily any better if you lived in the same place as the coach did.
Correct.
I think that if you have your good environment with people that you can keep you held accountable and lift with, whether at their house, at your house, at the gym. I mean, Damon's at that gym now, so like you guys can all go there. Yeah. I think that's more important than the coach.
I agree with that.
I've always felt that lifting partners, even if it's not necessarily like you're lifting the same amount of weight, but like having somebody that you lift with in person all the time is going to always be better than the coach, than the program. Like you guys you could have you could just be picking up a templated program and do the same thing and still get better than you would if you weren't together with someone. Yeah,
that makes sense. I get that. So that sparks a question within me about you, is like, you've been in the sport about, I don't know, 6 years more than I have, whatever. In your mind, what are some of your, I don't know, I don't want to say goals. What's something you want to accomplish? What's something you wish you had in this sport that you haven't done yet? And try, and when I say this, I mean, don't skew it to me, but like what I'm trying to say is like outside of the numbers, outside of the weight.
Yeah. I want to be in the corner of someone else who surpasses me.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
I
really
think
cool.
that would be awesome. Like, I've done everything in the sport that I could imagine and so much more. And I'm kind of at the point, I've been thinking about this a lot the past couple of weeks, where like, yeah, I tell myself, like, you've done it all.
Right.
There's nothing in the sport you haven't done yet.
Right.
In reality.
Yeah.
Like, I know the age bracket that I'm in, and I know what I'm capable of, and those kinds of things. But like, that was all in the past, and I'm not going to live in the past, because I think that that's something that you'll just constantly be comparing yourself of. It's like the Uncle Rico thing. It's like, oh, back in my day, I could throw this football over a mountain. It's like, who cares? What are you going to do now? Like, if you don't have goals for right now, and it doesn't have to be for yourself, it can be like, it could just be as little as like, I want to inspire my team to do more. I want to push them to go further. Like, that's what really I think is important, especially once you've kind of accomplished what you've set out to accomplish.
I really like that. And that really leads to the, or shows, your selfless kind of attitude towards the sport. And, I'm one of probably like more than a dozen, but one of a lot of people that can attest to like, the amount of like advice, tricks, hey, check this out, stuff, little tips that you give us. And it's awesome. But what you just said is a very true answer. And I want everybody out there that doesn't know Cornell, that's listening to this, to understand, because I think most of our listening base probably knows Cornell, but like, he's not feeding a line of bullshit right here. I don't know. I can't tell you how many times I've poloed him and been like, dude, I got a question. And I always get an answer, and that's pretty cool. And so, it's like the continuing evolution of the sport. And when you talk about, like, it's almost like the then versus now, like, you're always going to have your old guard that's like, oh, it was so much better then. We were lifting so much more weight. And I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think the sport has evolved. I think the sport has got more popularity. So it kind of is a little bit, what's the word? It's spread out a little bit more. So we don't notice the amount of weight being lifted, but we just had a weightlifter, in AO finals, didn't Aaron Williams, didn't he attempt like the heaviest clean and jerk ever to be attempted on American soil?
By an American, yes.
By an American. That's what I meant to say.
And like, heaviest clean jerk ever attempted by an American ever.
Yeah. And so that tells you it's still evolving, right? Like, we haven't stopped. It haven't gotten worse. Maybe the way the things are conducted in the sport is different.
Sure.
But in all humankind, like everything else, we have to evolve. And that's kind of just the reality of it.
Yeah, no, it's funny you look back at old Cal Strength videos, or just how it was back when they say, like, back in the day.
Yeah.
And it's like, people didn't really understand what they understand now. And now, back then, it was like, you just need to work hard. You just need to put in the time, put in the effort, do this, do that, and you're going to get good.
Right.
Now, like, there's so much science involved that I don't understand it. But I also know that I'm probably never going to understand it, because I'm not that kind of a coach.
Yeah.
And I would never claim to be that kind of coach. But I look at people, you look at Wes Kitts, like, the guy's a 102 now. So he's probably walking around 105, 106. But he's hitting over 200 kilos on the regular. Mm-hmm. He's snatching over in the like mid to high 70s, like semi-regularly. Look at Ryan Sessner. I feel like weekly he's clean and jerking over 200.
Yeah. It seems like that, right?
And he's snatching over 70. You look at Medina, he's the same. Like, Medina's, I haven't talked to him in a while, so I don't want to like say anything, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't look like a big super anymore. Like he didn't ever look like a big super, but he doesn't look like he's a super anymore based on what I can see with my eyeballs.
He's still in, yeah, I know he does look a little skinnier, but he is still a super. And actually, I'll let you listen to this because I'm not going to butcher it. But on that podcast, Will Fleming talks about a strategy or a way that he could actually be going to the Olympics.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
So he talks about that. So it's towards the end of the show, but it's really neat to listen to that kind of like these different strategies that are out there.
Yeah, but I'm just seeing all these people nowadays, and I'm like, you guys are lifting so much more than they did back in the day. Like,
yeah,
I think I was listening to Weightlifting House. They had one where it was like total nerded out, just all about the Olympics and like all these guesstimations of who's going to go and like if this person does this. But like Damron, 89 kilo lifter, like he's clean jerking in the 200s still, like 90s to 200s. He's snatched 170. Like they're saying if he can go like 72.05 or something, like he could potentially bump himself up into an Olympic position.
Right.
Like this is an 89. Like I know that the 89 class wasn't back in the day. It was like 85 or 96, but you even look at the top 96s back there from America or 94s, and they weren't doing anywhere near those numbers. Like especially on the regular.
Yeah.
And we've seen, I look at what Cal Strength was compared to what Cal Strength is. And I know that Cal Strength is kind of like, who knows what their future is. They're not big into weightlifting anymore. They're doing other stuff, but they still have a handful of lifters. Like they don't have that team that they used to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
totally.
after the last Olympics, when Wes moved back to Tennessee and they opened up another location, and it's not the same that it used to be, but there's so much more thought that goes into all this stuff. And it's not just like, just work hard, just do more.
Yeah. I mean, at a certain point you have to evolve. You can't just work hard and expect the same results. Like, you know, we all know that term. But like,
go
ahead.
How many more lifts people are making now than back in the day.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it was like, cool, you made 3 for 6. You made 2 for 6. Like almost, I remember seeing there's a team called Two White Light Weightlifting.
Okay.
Their slogan is like almost a loser, barely a winner. And I feel like that's how weightlifting was by just the cavemen back in the day when they were just push. Yeah. It wasn't like, hey, if you don't push as hard on these days, then you can push more on the next day.
Yeah. I like that. And you know, Fleming made a quote that he was just like, listen, if you're not hitting 6 for 6, you're not going to the Olympics.
Yeah.
He's like, Coach Mary, you know, she went 4 for 6, and it was like, I'm just like, you need to do better than this. And he says it a lot better than I did, but like, you know, I learned a lot from that podcast, but I think what I took away from it the most, and I'm not trying to boost somebody else's podcast here, but it just brought up a lot of good conversation, which is, you know, the level-headed approach that he seems to take. Now, I don't know the guy. I haven't done enough research on him. But just off of the couple things that I've seen him in lately, man, it's really refreshing to see this approach of how a coach at that level really coaches.
It's professional.
It's professional. It's exactly what it is. It's like you look at Mike Tomlin. Are you familiar with Mike Tomlin is?
Mm-mm.
He's the head coach of the Steelers. And that guy has, in my opinion, Pittsburgh Steelers, in my opinion, he has the best sideline persona in the NFL. The man is a professional. He's not yelling at his players. He's not, you know, he's not firing people. He's not, he's been with the Steelers for years and years and years, you know, but just his persona of the way that he holds himself in a professional sense is really nice. And I'm like, I'm sitting here being like, oh, is this really how it is? Like, this is awesome. I love it. But yeah, it's fun, dude. I enjoy. I think that if I was to take your question, what I gave you, which is the one thing you still want to accomplish, I can't really say that for myself because I'm too young in the sport. But I'm still a sponge, and that's really what I really figured out about myself recently. Is like, man, I'm still soaking up so much.
I am too.
Yeah,
I think that it's the people who think they know it all that, or who like that just think that they have the best way, that are the ones that they're not taking anything else in. It's like they think they know it all and they don't want to take criticism. They don't want to like, well, this worked for me. This is how I got here. It's like, okay, well, there's a lot of stuff that is different that can get you there faster, easier, less injuries, bring more people there.
Yep.
Like we talked a little bit last week about not necessarily staying on the same team for a long time. Like put a couple years in.
Yep.
I think that that's a big part where you want to absorb everything you can from whoever's teaching you. Yeah. And then move on and start absorbing new stuff from somebody else. And then don't burn bridges. Don't be a jerk about it. Don't be like, oh, I'm better than you because I'm moving on to this next thing. But just be honest. Be like, hey, look, this was a great run. I think I took in everything that I can take from you, and I want to try something different now. And I'm going to use what I've been taught, and I'm going to try to add to it with someone else.
Yeah, I think I really like that, because especially it's nice hearing that coming from like somebody who's been in the sports for as long as you have, because for myself, this is technically my second team I've been on. Mm-hmm. I know I'm going to be on another team. I'm not thinking about that right now, but I know that when I approach, Stephanie, and I'm like, hey, I think it's time for me to move on. Mm-hmm. It's going to be perfectly fine. And that level of professionalism, we have something that we talk about in the restaurant industry. Okay. And this is something that for so long in the restaurant industry, you talk about family, like this is your work family. This is, we go to the trenches together. Like we're, Friday nights, we're getting our ass kicked and then we're going out and having drinks. This is our family. Right. Yeah. Well, that whole term of like, this is our family has really been distinguished for the simple fact that it's, and I did some research on this, but it's used from a corporate level, more of a dictator level, to draw people in and keep them there. It's a tactic. And so if we're using this tactic of saying we're a big family, then what are you really saying there? Especially if somebody from that family leaves, are they still a family? Yeah. So there's one thing that when I do a lot of exit interviews at work, and when somebody exits and leaves, I'm like, hey, let's talk. Where are you going next? Give me some feedback. Tell me, like, what did I do that was good? What did I do that you liked? What did I do that you didn't like? And then we talk about where they're going, right? And it's sometimes you get people that are just too scared to say what, the constructive part. Most of the time they're like, oh yeah, you're so great. But there are times where you do get some really good feedback. And as me as a professional in my industry, which is being, in the restaurant industry, I look at that as so valuable. And it's the people that can't take that feedback that still have so much more room to grow to be a professional. And so it's like this idea that, we're going to create this family atmosphere. That's an insecurities. That's all that is. You're trying to keep a bunch of people around you. And I'm not like talking to anybody about anybody specific here. I'm just saying from my industry and from my thing, it's like, it's not a good feel to sit there and say, oh, we're family, and then watch these people walk away. Because of course you're going to get pissed off. We're supposed to be family. Yeah. Yeah.
No, there's signs out there. There's phrases, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
you don't pick your family, you pick your friends.
Correct.
And I'm at a point now, especially in weightlifting, where I don't want to call people teammates anymore because they're my friends. And I'm not, if you want to go to a different team, that's totally fine. I'm still going to be your friend.
Right.
I'm not your friend just because we're on the same team.
Correct.
And I've been on 4 teams. One of them was like the team left a gym. Like we've talked about that before.
Yeah.
And almost everybody moved over. And so it was technically 2 different teams, but it was the majority the same.
Yeah.
There's one team that was very much like to the death. And like we're brothers at all this kind of stuff. And then it was time to move on and nobody talks to me anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I thought like there was like Bible studies involved and stuff. And then I left the team and it was like, yeah, I'd still love to go like be a part of the Bible study. I still look at you guys as really close friends. Like you're not part of the team. This is a team Bible study. Yeah. This is a team way to heaven.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I think that mentality, it's too bad. You can't control other people. And that's really what that is. You just can't control other people and you got to let them do their thing and they're going to do it. And it's just like, it sucks, but I didn't deal with it probably on the same level that you did. Sure. Because you were closer to those people than probably I was. And I was I think I was self-induced. I was removed a little bit and that's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that feeling sucks.
Yeah. That's what helped me change my mindset where I'm like, I don't care what team we're on. I don't care if you want to switch gyms. I don't care about any of that. Like if you're my friend, you're my friend.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm going to lift with you. And it might not be as often as I would like to, or as often as we could, but I have friends who have been at Strength Tank and then they've chosen to move on and I'm still their friend. I'm not talking smack about them. I'm still going to reach out to them and see how they're doing. I just reached out to someone today who was on a team and I no longer anymore. And I was like, hey, how's it going? Haven't seen any posting. Like, how's everything going? And he was like, oh, things are going great. The new team is really doing good, except for I pulled like a hamstring and I have some other just little issues going on. I'm like, I get that. Like, let me know if you need anything.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be, it's like I'm choosing who my friends are.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, this is a good topic. And I think it probably should be talked about a little bit more, but I like the fact that we brought it up. I'm going to switch gears here, and because we're about 43 minutes in, and listen, I gotta promote this like not weird. I'm sorry, this show that I'm watching that my wife actually got me to watch on Netflix, and there's something so genuine about it, and it's called Love on the Spectrum.
I just started watching it.
Oh, dude. Listen, the Australia version of it is probably my favorite so far.
Okay.
I might have worked backwards because I think the US is the first season, Australia is the second season. Anyways.
2 seasons. We started on season 2.
Yeah, same here. So that's the Australia one, right?
No, they have people from season 1 who are still on.
Okay, well, I just started it yesterday. I'm like 6 episodes into something.
Okay.
So listen, okay,
it's amazing.
It is amazing. And for me, what really strikes me that is just so awesome is the straight up blunt, I'm going to say how I feel in the moment attitude. And it's accepted.
Did you see the one where he goes on the speed dating?
Which one?
Okay. I don't remember their names because we watched like 5 episodes in one. But the guy's on speed dating and my wife didn't really want to watch it because she's like, I don't want to make fun of them. And I was like, I just put it on because I'm like, it's something we can all watch.
Right.
And we were cracking up along with the people on the show were laughing, like the family member. And it was just like we were there and it was amazing. But this one dude, I felt so bad for him because his OCD-ness was he couldn't make a decision. I mean, he couldn't check I was interested in this person because he was like, well, what if they only want to have 2 kids and I want 3? I don't know if I can check this box that says I'm interested. And then he ended up going outside, and he was like talking to himself and pep talking. But like, it was like, are you interested or not? I don't know how many kids they want to have. And what if it's different than what I want to have?
Exactly. There's so much like thought, but
Yes.
it's not thought that's going on up here. It's coming out of their mouth. And I'm like, oh, this is so cool to watch. Like, just to see like somebody like say in a day, you know what? I'm just not feeling this. Or I don't think that I think that we should just be friends and everything's fine. And they just walk away and it's all good. Yeah. Now, I know it's TV a little bit, but there's probably some editing, but still, like, holy crap. Get out there and watch this show, people, if you haven't already seen it.
That's what this guy was doing during speed dating is he would ask him a question, and if they didn't say the answer he wanted, he would just look down at his paper and mark not interested, and there's still like 3 minutes left on the day. And then he'd look up at him.
I have not seen this episode, but I am looking forward to it.
Okay.
Okay. Oh man, such a great show. Get out there, watch it. It's on Netflix. Really good stuff. Anyways, Cornell, great show. 46 minutes in. Yeah, not much to say. Okay, we're going to end the show with one quick little weightlifting tip from Cornell. What is it?
Oh, gosh. Do a lot of warm-ups at a really light weight so that you're not warming up. You're not changing your technique as the weight's getting heavier.
Boom. That's it. No backstory on that. So excellent. I like it. Cornell, thank you for being here. Everybody who's commenting tonight, awesome stuff. Thank you for being here. Live shows are fun. So I hope everybody has a great night, and we'll talk to you later. Adios.